There is much lore around AI, things that it can and cannot do. There were two bots interviewing each other, says one headline. AI has its own Reddit account and is chatting, says another. These are new and exciting capabilities, but to what end? Let me begin with a story I heard. A gentleman, known as a jock in his circle, loaded all of his skills into AI and asked it, "What job should I apply for?" It found possible jobs, then built the requisite resume, and applied for the job. It found all of the interview questions and told him how to answer them. He did the interview virtually and used his notes to get the job. It is a fully remote role, so whenever he is asked to perform a task or answer a question, he asks AI. He openly admits to not knowing how to do the job, nor has the requisite knowledge required to think about the job. His thinking is curating the right question and turning back the answer to the client. His thinking is a customer has a problem. Let's find the answer. His thinking is, here's an answer. He may or may not know whether it is correct. So he's not using thinking for evaluation. His thinking is, this looks about right, and sending it back to his client. This remote worker and our dear reviewer and any other person who has chosen the machine over thinking is the topic of today's episode. Welcome to We Are the Machines. I'm Dr. Deitra Sawh. This podcast is for those who want to use artificial intelligence. Through anecdotes and phrases, you will be fluent in AI in front of the executive team and at the dinner party. I explain how machines learn in the context of human learning and arm you with the right questions to be asking the machines or those who are building your business machines. You will sound like an AI rock star by the end of each episode. Let's get started. When I entered the workforce, Google search was already in play. I did not have to go to our Bloomberg terminal each time I wanted to know the foreign exchange rates. I just looked it up. I didn't have to call our traders or our economists for the latest GDP data. And through this looking up and piecing disparate information together, I was able to complete my job. These practices gave me resourcing skills, trained my comprehension in finance, and provided exposure to capital markets through data. Now, into the future, the workforce is not only looking up, but is also asking the machine outright to piece together the disparate information coherently. The decision-making skill is easy for the human. Just ask AI. Let's dive a little deeper into this concept of thinking. For a machine, thinking means the model produces a scratchpad of reasoning tokens. For example, it can use the scratchpad to restate the problem, consider multiple approaches, spot edge cases or contradictions, and then select a solution. This scratchpad is the real computation. It is the token generation that costs time and money. For a human, thinking is used loosely to describe using your brain. In episode 19, we talked about how humans think a lot of thoughts. Today, we will go a bit deeper and focus on human cognition. Cognition relates to mental processes of acquiring, processing, and storing information. This is truly the distinction in what we as humans are losing to the machines. Thinking is what leads us to create a post. Cognition is required to read and summarize information. For example, we choose not to cognate numbers whenever we reach for a calculator. And we know that the more times we choose the calculator, that math muscle gets weaker and weaker to the point where you might just guess or say, I don't know, if you are without the calculator. Well, the same is happening with literally anything that is based in information and data. How did this happen to us? Indeed, we cannot deny the speed and efficiency of LLMs. It is so seductive to do your work. We should be using technology. End of story. But it's the way that the AI is being deployed that is making it dangerous for the human. We will explain with an example. When Microsoft took over the corporate world in the 1990s, it frustrated some as to how tied we were to it. But once everyone got used to it, it became normalized. We were all forced to use it, and it was for the better. Speed, accuracy, communication. Microsoft dominated the market and still does in the corporate world. Copilot, which is Microsoft's large language model, has not performed as well as other large language models, but it's the first one everyone is using because it is part of the Microsoft suite. In fact, Copilot equals AI in the minds of a lot of people, just like Kleenex and tissues or Xerox and photocopies. And it's sneaking in all over the place. The Copilot icon is in your Excel, your Word, and it's always offering to help you in your Outlook. What a nice tool. Microsoft's approach to AI is persistent but passive. It asks to summarize your document, but it doesn't say, "Are you sure? Can I do this instead?" etc. After a while, you do acquiesce and are impressed with the email summary. Then you notice the Copilot icon all of the time as it becomes your desktop assistant. It snuck right into your work and you are glad for it because all is getting done in less time. Some AI companies are passive aggressive by making you feel bad for not using AI. I saw an ad. Your Claude prompts are holding you back. See here on how to improve your performance. They have compelling arguments like telling you that you can use thinking if you want to take longer to do something, but if you want it done quickly, and who doesn't, then use the machine. Other companies are outright using the machine to bully you into using it. Why aren't you using it? They begin in-house by rewarding token use and making each employee feel behind by leveraging social networks to make you feel like you are not using it enough. Yes, it makes everything faster. But if everything is done for you, then what are you going to do? And if you don't have the ability to think, does it matter? The AI is taking advantage of the indolence of society. Most companies are looking at the future of work from a cost savings perspective, replacement versus augmentation. I am asking that the future of work be considered from a role point of view. Do we need workers to cognate to do their jobs? Which jobs require cognition and which do not? That will be your first clue as to what will be taken over by AI. On the other hand, you too might be concerned about preserving the minds of your people and want to check on their levels of mindlessness at work. You can count the number of tokens and determine what is that correct balance between thought and technology. Currently, with in-office work increasing, there is much in-person activity of brainstorming sessions and meetings, which is all for the betterment of the humans. And now, a moment for the human. There is much ado about women's speed of adoption of Gen AI, or lack thereof. Maybe more women than men are correctly perceiving the threat of the machine, and therefore choosing to know what they are actually doing at work. Intuitively, females know that the machines will come for our jobs first. And because the brain craves consistency, females approach the cognitive dissonance, or psychological discomfort, of letting the machine do our work by perhaps avoiding new information, while the rest of humanity rationalizes the behavior of enslaving itself to a machine. Thank you for listening to We Are the Machines. I'm Dr. Deitra Sawh.